Hi, everybody.
So, Anne, tell us all, how's your week been?
The week has been a little frustrating because I don't know if you've noticed that I have this massive finger here. I cut it off. I cut off the tip.
How
Not
did
the
that
whole
happen?
tip, but a good chunk of the tip with the mandolin cutting some carrots for dinner last week. And I had to tell you, it's still pretty painful, but it has not stopped me from doing some gardening.
Oh my gosh, that's the love of gardening. So what about color pencil? Is it affecting your color pencil drawing
Oh,
at all?
I actually could. I think I probably could. I haven't tried, but last night I tried to eat with chopsticks, and that was very, very hard.
Just imagine. Oh, dear, oh dear. Right, now we're going to go into learning a little bit more about you. So let's get started. I'm going to officially introduce you now. Anne is an amazing woman because not only is she a fantastic, amazing artist, she's a great educator, and she has helped so many with her passion for color pencil over all these years. And it is an absolute honor to have Ann Kullberg on my show today. So let me officially introduce you so you know all about Anne. Ann Kullberg picked up a few Prismacolors in an art store in 1988, and her life changed forever. Anne has been a portrait artist and author of many instruction books, a workshop instructor in 6 countries, 45 states, and on 31 cruises. And she has published her monthly magazine for colored pencil artists for 27 years. She turned 70 this year and looks forward to semi retiring soon so she can spend more time on her flower garden. Oh my goodness, Anne, you are incredible. So tell us all, Anne, where you're living now and a little bit about you. I always like to start from the very beginning, but just start with where are you living right now?
Right now, I'm living in the Midwest. I'm in Southern Illinois, an hour east of St. Louis. So I'm really more on the Missouri side, and I live in a tiny little town that has two stoplights, and I'm 3 blocks from my daughter, and life is wonderful here. I love it.
Gosh, you can't beat that to have family right next to you. And can I say, you look incredible. You look so beautiful. And the color
Oh,
blue just really suits you.
oh,
It's
thank you.
gorgeous. Anyway, so that's where you are right now. And I don't know, I just think there's so much beauty in looking back to the past and all of that nostalgia. And also that gives us clues to who you are today, where you've come from, because this podcast is about creative identity transformation. And so I love to know the story of how you came into your creative identity, and was it there when you were young? So tell us about that journey.
Well, I grew up in Japan. My dad was a Lutheran missionary in Japan for 10 years. So my mother wrote letters. Back then you couldn't just make a phone call internationally like you can now. It would anyway. So she wrote letters, and my grandmother kept them. So decades ago, we had these to read, and there was a letter where I was 4 years old, and my mother wrote to my grandmother saying, Anne is always coloring, drawing. That's going to be her special talent. So at 4, my mother was aware that art was important to me. And I do remember coloring in coloring books, and my brother was a year younger than me, and he just would scribble, and I had like a whole technique already, by the time I was 6 on how to color, and it would just annoy me that he was like destroying my coloring books with his scribbles. So yeah, I was already meticulous about, which is what made color pencil eventually a perfect medium for me. But then, yeah, so I always drew, and mom and dad always had art supplies for me at the house. But I didn't take any art classes. I think it's so funny. Like, I felt like you had to be like an artist to take art classes. And I didn't feel like I was an artist, so I didn't take them. And I always think it's so funny. Like, people will take piano lessons not knowing piano. But for some reason or other, people think you have to be able to draw to learn art. And it's just like
Yes, I know.
it's so
And I hear that.
backward.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. I have people that come to me and say, "Oh, but really, I can't have mentoring because I'm not an artist. I'll come back to you when I can." I'm saying to them, but that's not how it works. I get you. I'm with you, Anne. Keep going. This is
Yeah,
so
yeah.
interesting.
I fell into that trap. It didn't wasn't on any it didn't take any art classes. I went to college for and got a teaching degree in English, junior high English, and yeah, that was my passion. That was my other passion. I loved to draw, and I loved teaching. So we would always play school, and I would make my little sister sit and do my lessons. And we had a chalkboard in the basement,
So
and I would,
sweet. You're a natural born teacher as well.
I love teaching,
Oh,
right? So when I was, I think about 30, I had two little kids, possibly just one. Maybe only the second one was on the way. And it was 87, 88. And I walked into a relative's home and saw this drawing on the frame, drawing on the wall, and I could not figure out what the medium was. It wasn't pencil, it wasn't watercolor, it wasn't pastel. And I asked, "What is this?" And she said, "Oh, that's colored pencil." And somebody she knew had done it for her, and they had told her that they had taken a class from Bette Borgeson, who was in the Portland, Oregon area, and she had written a book, and that I should go to the library and get this book. It was called The Colored Pencil, and this was like I'd never heard of colored pencil other than those horrible things used in school, you know.
oh, I remember
And
them.
yeah, right. I was always unhappy with them. In fact, I remember just so distinctly being in grade school and wishing that I could merge colored pencil with crayon, because neither of them fit the bill. So I was just like waiting, for my discovery.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
incredible,
discovery.
Anne. It's like you had this ingenious brain, this absolute genius brain that you just needed to release, and it all happened for you. You didn't have to invent them because that's how we do
No,
have
I
color
did.
pencil
Thank
now.
goodness.
We do, though. That is how color pencil is. Some brands are just gorgeous. They are, aren't they? They are like color pencil merged with crayon. Anyways,
Yeah, so I did. I went to the library and I got the book, Bette Borgeson. I was just enthralled. I just, wow, you can do this with these. And I bought just a little set. I think it was probably a set of 24 because we did not have any money, for anything frivolous, young parents. And yeah, so I read her book, and she's I call her an accountant. She keeps track of every color mix, and I am the opposite of an accountant. Like I can't keep track of my glasses. So I actually took the book back to the library without even sharpening or without even opening my box of pencils because I thought, well, is not going to be for me if you have to keep track because I'm not going to keep track of how I made this orange. Then I thought, well, that's kind of silly. Maybe I should just try it myself, my own way. I sat down and did a drawing while while my kids were napping. I mean, I can just see myself still sitting at the kitchen table, the Formica table that was mom and dad's hand-me-down dining table. That's my little set, and I drew it from a picture in a magazine. And my neighbor saw it a little while later, and she said, "Oh, you should enter that into the Kitsap County Fair," which was just a little fair, local. And I did, and I took first place. And I was,
wow. Have you got a picture of
wow,
that artwork, Anne?
I
Is that
do. It's the my first colored pencil piece. It's not on any like art paper or anything. It's but and I in the background, if you're like really see it, it's not great, but it went pretty well. And honestly, the minute I picked up the colored pencils, I felt like I was home.
wow. And Anne, that is an award-winning piece. This is just amazing. Surely that must have totally inspired you. I mean, look at all the colors in there. I can just see all these beautiful colors and gradations. And that was your first attempt with no training? Oh my goodness.
No, but but I had been doing watercolor and a little pastel and, some gouache. I mean, I had been drawing pen and ink for, since I was 4. So it wasn't like I was new to coloring. I just was brand new to, I was new to glazing, which, which layering, I had not ever worked in a medium where you did that. So that was new, but it just felt natural. I mean, it was like I was channeling it.
I just think that seriously, that is incredibly amazing that you could create such a high level pencil drawing from not actually using that medium before. That is incredible natural gifting because to use color pencil, there are things that we need to learn. So you
Yeah.
discovered it yourself. So you
Yeah.
are one of the great pioneers of colored pencil art because seriously, that is really pivotal. That is so important because there are special ways to use colored pencil. Most people sort of get with colored pencil and they do a lot of lines in them and they do a lot of angles, they leave a lot of spaces, but you didn't. You made a beautiful, pure transition. I'm just wondering because I'm always a bit of a scientist myself with art materials. I investigate them and explore them deeply because I'm fascinated with how they work. So I bet this is a tall ask, but can you imagine yourself back to that time? And can you imagine what it was like exploring those pencils? Did you have to work hard to discover how they layered, how they glazed? Did you look at a book? Did you have that book again from Bet Borgeson, or did you remember it? Tell me about that exploration.
No, that's why I said it was like channeling. It was like picking up the pencil and getting home. It just flowed out. No, I mean it was so that I once I got the book, I mean I was amazed at her, but I did not like how rough her like she used a lot of texture, like textured papers. So there was a lot of white showing through. And I wasn't crazy about that. So that was one thing I already knew this. I didn't want so much white showing through. So I think that I must have figured out pretty quickly that you want a sharp point and that will cover the paper more densely so that not so much white is showing. But when I said that the background isn't very good, well, the background is more white showing, like I did not scribble, but just it was looser, and that's what I learned right away. I'll tell you that I became completely obsessed so that there was not a moment in the day, I mean, right away, right away, that I wasn't thinking about can I, snatch a few minutes of time for drawing. And by, I think my third piece, my brother asked if he could buy it. And that changed my life. That was a huge pivotal moment, something that most artists aren't lucky enough to get. And that was that my kid brother wanted to buy it, and so what that said to me was it was valuable, it was worth something, my time was worth something. And most artists get asked, beginning artists, "Look, can you draw this for me? Can you draw my dog for me? Can you do it?" Because your time doesn't mean anything, right? You're just having fun. So his him I don't even know why he did that. But I guess he saw that it was something kind of valuable. And so I said, okay. And I charged him $100. We're going back to 88. That was a lot of money. And he paid $100.
My goodness, that is the biggest compliment ever. And that's actually a lot of money, isn't it, back then? And do you have that artwork that he bought that you created? Do you have a picture of that for us today?
I don't have a
Oh,
picture. Yeah. I see it every time I go visit him.
that's
I
okay.
do.
Maybe one day you can send it in and we can do
Right.
something with that because it'd be fantastic to see. Can you describe it for us then?
Sure. So that piece that my brother bought was so I knew nothing. Remember, I took no art classes. There was no internet. And so I just knew absolutely nothing. And so I was drawing from National Geographic, pictures because I didn't know that was a no-no. And
Oh my gosh, that sounds familiar, Anne. That's what I started to
I'm
do back
sure.
in the
I
day.
mean,
I
and
painted from
people,
National Geographic. I didn't
um,
know there was no internet. I didn't know. And I remember
yeah.
selling my first tiger and it was from National Geographic. But then afterwards, for years, I hunted to try and find the photographer, the original photographer. But like you, I sold it to family. But anyway, this is
Right.
phenomenal because you've just had no training. And I'm listening to you in awe, but I just had a question I wanted to ask you. You know that thing about the sharp tip pencil? And I
Oh,
think that is the biggest, most incredible thing that I can see in that very first work, the parfait glass. And it is that beautiful, incredible dispersion of color pencil. That takes so much patience. Were you a patient person at that time?
I have to say that I'm not a particularly patient person, no, but I am when it comes to art because my favorite thing to do before color pencil was watercolor and gouache, but with a tiny, tiny, thin little brush. So I was really coloring with a brush. So it was meticulous and I would steady my hand and I mean it was very, very intricate. And so I don't know if I would call it patience. I think it was I mean it's more like passion. When you're passionate, you don't even know that it's taking you a long time.
So that really, really makes sense to me now, is that you were developing that fine-tuned skill before you transferred that skill into color pencil. And I'm just in awe of that because I myself, I help my students to learn in graphite first or charcoal first and then move into color pencil later. But color pencil of all the mediums, if you want it to have that beautiful, fine, gorgeous, stunning realism where you fill the page, you have to have that meticulous patience or that meticulous attention. I call it attention, because you've got to keep your brain involved in that. So that's the missing link, I think, there, isn't it? From before color pencil to being able to do such incredible realistic color pencil. And because who could you learn from? There was nobody to learn from. Colored pencil has
Right.
only become a great medium from, well, when would you really officially say, Anne, that color pencil took off as an official fine art medium?
Boy, that's a great question.
Yeah.
It's still not it's still not accepted by many museums because they don't know how long it will last and that kind of thing. I mean, I still feel like it's the poor second cousin to all the others that have been more that are accepted. And that's why, that's what I live for is to get that color pencil to
Yeah,
be
but
a
there's
little
been
more.
some great artists that have definitely done so much, treading the path. And I mean, I grew up in Papua New Guinea. Excuse me. I grew up in Papua New Guinea, so I imagine them like warriors, these coloured pencil artists like warriors. They're slashing down those pathways with these big serif knives, that they used to have in Papua New Guinea. And I mean, think of some of the greats like Jessie Lane, Tanya Gant, Cecile Baird, all of these
Actually,
incredible
the first
artists.
the first one was Barbara Adidon. She was
Yeah.
in New York City. Do you know her? You New
No,
York
can
City.
can you tell us her name again?
Barbara Adidon, Aedidin, something like that, maybe En. And she did these absolutely phenomenal classic still lifes in with florals in vases, and they were large and they were incredible. And she got into very good galleries in New York City. But then she switched quite quickly. So, I mean, I think it was just such a slow medium that she switched and then she dropped out. But she was the first one to get real, true acceptance into the fine art world, I would say. Like Beth Borgeson, she sold prints and things like that, but it wasn't to the level of like a New York gallery. So I would
That's
say that she
incredible.
was
A New York gallery with coloured pencil. And what year was this?
way back, like maybe 92, 93. Yeah. Oh no, 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 it couldn't be that early. It was after I had the magazine. So yeah, 98, 99. Yeah, 20, 25 or so years ago.
What did she
Yes,
swap?
absolutely.
What did she swap back to?
I think she went to oil.
Yeah. That would make sense because some
Yeah.
color pencil, because it's oil based, it actually can look like oil paint. And you're right, it is such a slow medium. You'd think, oh my gosh, I probably want to go back to it. We'd love to know, but we don't know. So,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm really amazed at what you've done, though, Anne. You are right back there. I mean, I've only been in color pencil for about 11 years, so I'm a newbie to it. And, I spent loads and loads of years in acrylic paint and then, graphite pencil, charcoal, all of that. But color pencil came to me about 11 years ago. And guess what? This is the point I want to get to. It was your artwork on a tin, of Prismacolor Premier on the lid. And it's of this beautiful girl. Oh my gosh, don't tell me you've got it. I feel like I've got to have a copy of that tin. I've got to get it. That's it, Anne. And that tin made me fall in love with colored pencil and change the trajectory of my career.
Tell you a little story about this because Jesse Lane came on the scene, and of course, he was a huge sensation, and he's such a hunky guy. And I go to a Color Pencil Society convention because it was near my home, and I'm in the meet and greet, where the first cocktail hour sort of thing. And suddenly, next to me is this, great big. He's huge. He's big. He's really tall. Uh, Guy. And I realized, oh my God, it's Jesse Lane. And I'm like in fangirling completely, right? I'm like, oh my God, it's Jesse Lane. Oh, wow. And he's like really, really nervous and like being kind of anxious. And he says, oh, it's Ann Kullberg. Could you wait here, please? Could you just please wait here? And he goes tearing off out of the ballroom. And I'm still fangirling. And he comes back a few minutes later, couple minutes later, and he has the lid to this, okay? Just the lid and a Sharpie. And he says, will you sign my tin?
Oh my gosh, I'm sitting here trying not to laugh because it's
He was fanboying and I was
beautiful.
fanboying.
It's beautiful though, isn't it? See, you're one of the greatest, and you came before so many of the other greatest. This is what I'm fascinated in. And that tin, I mean, let's look at the picture on the screen. That tin, that image. Here's the image. So it's an extra long image. Look, I'm just in awe. And you know what? You're so blessed that you made it to the tin. I did a commission for the Derwent tin, I remember, and I was one of 3 artists, and I didn't get chosen. And I was absolutely gutted at the time. But anyway, I did the commission. But so you got on the tin. Every single artist, I think, so many great artists, not every single, but so many great artists want to have their art on the tin. How did that come about? Do you have any backstory to that or that you'd like to share with us?
I mean, it's just crazy. They emailed me and said, we saw this picture of yours and we would like to put it on a tin. And this is what we will pay you. And we'll get like not exclusive rights, but limited rights, and for me, it was a great big fat check. And it was about 20 years ago, maybe. I mean, this has been a long, long time, at least 15 years.
And that must have
And
been
it's
like snail mail. So you must have got like the letterhead and the
no,
full. No, no.
no,
Oh, no,
it was,
internet.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Internet
definitely,
just
yeah,
starting to be popular, wasn't it?
yeah.
Just starting to be
Well,
popular.
I had a website in 98. My book was coming out in
Mm.
99, and I wanted to make sure that I had a website when the about the author, well, because I said in the about the author to visit me at annkullberg.com, so I had to have an annkullberg.com. So, and I say my book, I'm talking about this book, which was my first color pencil book, and the color pencil portraits, which is not in print anymore, but you can get it on eBay and on Amazon, used copies. It But anyway, this book, Cindy, you will not believe what happened with this book.
Tell
Like,
me, tell me. I'm so excited. Tell me about it.
the world was so ready for this book. I mean, it was crazy. I had no idea. Let me back up just a little bit. The reason I have had the chance to write this book was that Gary Green had been asked by Northlight Publishing, which was a big art instruction publishing company at the time. And he had been asked to write a book on color pencil called, I think it was Color Pencil Textures or something like that. And he wanted a chapter on portraits, but he didn't do portraits. And he lived near me. We were in the same CPSA chapter, Color Pencil Society of America chapter. So I knew him, he knew me. And so he asked if I would do the chapter on portraits for his book. And I said, that was great. Now, I want you to know that I didn't get paid anything for that. And I mean, I wasn't compensated in any way, which meant that I had to take my own slides. Only it wasn't slides back then. You had to have 3x5 transparencies, and those were very expensive to have done. And also, it was an hour away to get to the studio to have them take pictures. So while I'm doing these step-by-steps for the book, I'm having to run up an hour to Seattle to have them drive back down an hour and pay for all of this. And because I'm telling you this because, in the end, what you do, you don't sometimes you cannot imagine what comes to you when you just do it, and not just for compensation, when you just take a risk, because I knew this book, I didn't know if it was going to sell or not, his book, but I knew at the least it would bring me exposure.
And
And
that's really wise, and that's so valuable. It's those connections, and you never know where it will lead, do you?
no,
So well
no,
done for doing that.
I think it was. I mean, it was one of the smartest things I ever did. I mean, I did not have, at that point, I was a single divorced mother, a single mother. My son is extremely, extremely handicapped, and I could not work outside of the home. So whatever money I had was a little paltry amount of child support, and then what I made doing commissions. So this was a sacrifice. It was just plain out a sacrifice, but I just knew this was a smart thing to do. So I'm in the book, his book for Northlight, and about 6 months after that book came out, Northlight called me and said, we want to do a book on portraits in color pencil. We saw your work in Gary's book, and would you like to do that? Yeah. Shivers. It still
Wow.
gives me shivers. Yeah.
That is how things should work, isn't it? Just naturally, organically, and helping one another. And then you should be paid. You should be given your opportunity because you need to survive, right? You got bills to
Right,
pay.
right, right,
But
right.
well done on that investment. And I guess also the wisdom to have the foresight to see that this could possibly lead me. So not only are you an amazing artist, you've got a great business head. So, Anne, I'm a huge fan. I'm doing a real girl fan thing right now because I love your art. It's just incredible. And like we saw the Prismacolor tin, how it inspired my journey. And it's just such a privilege to be here with you today. But can you tell us more about your art?
Well, my art started with a love for Japan. So I did a lot of Japanese things. And then I loved drawing children, just the innocence of children. So I was a color pencil portrait artist, children's portrait artist for 15 years. And then, but I really, way more than drawing with color pencil. What I love, it's hard for me to put into words how much I love colored pencil, like the medium and the art and the artists who make it. And like my whole reason for living is championing color pencil and the color pencil art and color pencil artists. That's what gets my juices going. That's what annkullberg.com is all about, really. It's not just, me teaching. In fact, if you go to my website, you'll see very, very little teaching instruction from me, almost none, because I'd rather you have Jessie Lane teaching you and Amy Lindenberger teaching you and Gretchen Parker teaching you and Carmen Barr, because they all know something I don't know. So you can learn from everybody. And so it helps you, the student, it helps the teacher, whoever it is, like teaching or writing a book for us. We have, I don't know, I think 57 titles on Amazon now of various books that other artists, because we publish them. We publish Cynthia Knox books, and that's what gets my juices going, way more than drawing myself. And the other thing is, I mean, there's a billion color pencil artists out there so much better than me. In some ways, I just feel like, what? Why would I? Why would I do it when Tanya Gant is out there and
Oh my
Julie
gosh.
Dolsky is out
You're
there
just too
and
humble.
yeah,
You're just too
no,
humble,
I'm
Anne.
not being humble now.
You
Thank
are
you.
amazing. And this is the thing. And now this is the reason why I really wanted you to come onto this podcast today, is because I really wanted to celebrate that you are doing so much for others. You're so humble. You know, it's never all about you. And yet you are an incredible artist. And we will look at some of your art in just a moment because I just need to celebrate you. I've just got to do that. So I've got to show your art. And you've given me permission, which is fabulous. And also, I mean, even myself, you've published some of my books before too. Well, not published, but you've sold my books
Oh,
on your site too. And we've had a great collaboration over the years. And I just think it's absolutely wonderful what you're doing. And so you've got like a one-stop shop where you can go there and you can get so many different books on so many different subjects. And it's like going into a candy store for an artist. And you look, I can't recommend your everything you're doing enough. But anyway, we're not here for that. We're here to celebrate you, Anne. And today I just want to show a little bit of your art. And I wanted to put this piece up because I absolutely adore this. It's called Sunday Morning, and this beautiful little girl in the tree. Can you tell us more about this gorgeous artwork? I've got it up on the screen here right now. So tell us about that, Anne.
that's the girl in the tree with the polka dot dress. She was just such a cutie. I loved her. She was a kind of an imp, and I just thought she belonged in a tree. One of my signatures when I was a children's portrait artist was bare feet, because I just love drawing those cute little toes. So anyway, I had her climb up in that tree, and she was just that expression on her face was so awesome, and I really enjoyed drawing that. I remember the skin tones just worked really, really well, and I didn't struggle in any way, except for with those polka dots, because the polka dots were kind of a pain. But her little sister, I'll tell you a little story about her sister. That was a commission from a family in Portland. They had three daughters, and this was the middle one, the one in the tree. But then later I did her younger sister's portrait, and her name is Maddie. And I delivered the portrait and they hung it. And then her mother called me the next week and she told me that little Maddie she was only 4, maybe 5, had padded downstairs the next morning and she'd walked over to her portrait on the wall and she stood there and she looked at it and she said, "That's me forever." Oh, oh,
That is so beautiful. And isn't that what you do it for? You know,
yes,
when you
that's
create.
exactly. I mean, that's why I loved doing because I felt like if I did adult portraits, it would be sort of well, first of all, it'd be harder to please them. But sort of
Oh,
like
that's funny.
right? I mean,
I
because
love
we're all
that. I love that. It just falls out of your mouth. Oh, be easy to please them. Or did you say
really
it'd be harder to please them? I'll be harder to please an adult.
harder to please an adult, right? I don't want that double chin and what about those wrinkles, all that. But children, they're not like that. So I wanted to paint. I always, because I said I grew up in Japan and I grew up in the rural little village. And if I had a painting of me surrounded by my Japan, I would treasure that beyond anything. And that was the motivation. Every time I did a child's portrait, I wanted to give them their childhood in a frame,
Wow.
forever.
I love that saying, their childhood in a frame forever. That's so special. And so that's what we're doing when we create a colored
Yeah,
pencil portrait. And it doesn't have to just be the face and the body, and it can even be an entire scene, can't it? And that
right.
actually leads me, you spoke about growing up in Japan, and I love this image that you've created from your friend in Tokyo, who's a bartender. And here
Yeah.
I've got that on the screen for you now. Can you tell me about that special moment?
All it was a few years ago, like but maybe 3 years ago, my friend, who I've been friends with forever, he and I went to a bar, and this bartender it was his bar. And the bars in Tokyo are tiny, like they might seat 6 or 7 people. I mean, they're just tiny. And he was just so adorable. I mean, he was so cute, this man, and I took a picture of him, that the photo of that I drew from. And then I just one night decided I'm gonna draw him just to draw him because he's got a cute face. And so I did, and then the next time I went to Japan, I gave it to my friend, who then gave it to him. So I didn't even get to give it to him, but that it was it was really lucky because I had no way of knowing that he was going to be retiring and closing the bar, and wouldn't I would never have another chance to meet him except for that one night that it was just sort of kind of special. So, and I didn't know when I started drawing him either. I just drew him, and I'm really glad I did. Like, and they said that he was thrilled to have
That's
that.
so special, and it just sounds like you're so intuitive and so in tune with, the environment and the world and just things that are going on. You're such a beautiful, sensitive soul. Imagine what a great alignment that was. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
That's just such a true artist. You're such a true artist. You've got that beautiful sensitivity. I love that. And talking about sensitivity, that brings me to ask you a little bit about this gorgeous baby portrait that you did titled Little Miss Evie and the sensitivity in that. Can you tell us all about this artwork that you've created?
Well, of course, that's my granddaughter, and that's why it's so sensitive. And I was babysitting. I wasn't babysitting, I was visiting, and she was in her little, um, her little, I don't know, those little bouncy things. And I saw that there was beautiful light coming in from the one of the windows, so I drug her over there so the light would hit her just right. And then I took a bunch of pictures, and um, yeah, that was an experiment. It was on sanded paper, and which I had never worked on before. And so that was like, it actually didn't flow because it was the first time I was working on that surface. Um, but it was so special to me. I knew I had to get it right because it was, you know, Evie.
Well, yes, because it's your darling little granddaughter and you want it to look just like her. Well, you really captured the most beautiful moment. And don't you have books and lessons on drawing little babies, don't you, Anne?
I
Can
do.
you tell us about that? What inspired you and what's in the book? Just tell us a little tiny bit about that because, art instruction is so important. If a brand new person went into a store, like Office Works or a fine art store or wherever they go to get pencils, and they look at all the pencils and they go, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do with them?" But they love the pencils. You know what they need to do, don't you? We both know they need instructions. And so
I
I
do.
want you to tell the world about what you've got in the way of helping people to draw little portraits. Even if you just give me a quick little overview, just so people know that if they find themselves in that position where they don't want to do all the genius exploration on how
Right.
to use color pencil, what
Right.
what can they do, Anne? Tell them, what can they do? They can come to
Yeah.
you, obviously,
Well,
annkullberg.com. But what have you got? Just tell us a little bit
we
about that.
have we have a lot of books, but we also have tutorials, lots and lots of tutorials. And I'll tell you a real quick backstory. I just remember getting Artist Magazine when I was a new artist, and being so frustrated. I would look at the step by steps, and there would be all of this stuff that happened between the steps, and I'd be like, "Well, what? But how did you get from here to here? Don't like show me more." And it just drove me crazy. And so our tutorials. So I'm like a fanatic about our tutorials. Show every single step. There are no missing steps. It's not like you go from here and 6 layers later you're on the next picture, which drives me crazy. So yeah, I have a very specific way of teaching our teachers how to teach and how to create books and tutorials so that everything you see, every step, every color, every pressure point, like all of that. So yes, we have tons of tutorials. We have beginner tutorials. They're called our jumpstart line, and we have, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 of those, animals and landscapes, all kinds of things, and portraits, because you can do a portrait as a new person. You can. And then we have the in-depth tutorials that are more. We have like those are 30 pages, and they're very, very, very detailed, and they might be some very complicated um, subject matter, but Cynthia Knox has done tutorials for quite a few tutorials. Amy Lindenberger, some very excellent, well-known artist. And and then we also have classes, and you can, we have jelly beans. We call them jelly beans. They are little short 60 to 90-minute classes, and they're on one, particular topic. Maybe it's
So, Anne, I'm really excited about something else that you do, and we've got to know more about this. So, you do a monthly magazine. Oh my gosh, can you tell us all about that?
yes, that's my oldest product. Once the book came out, I started it because actually what happened was a woman from Texas emailed me, and she had read my book, and she said, "Will you give me classes online?" And my daughter was standing next to me, and I laughed out loud, and she said, "What's funny?" And I said, "This woman wants me to teach her online." And she said, "Well, you could do a monthly magazine, and you could teach a lot of people at the same time." And I'm like, "I could?" And she said, "Yeah." And I mean, I didn't know anything. I just had this little tiny used computer. But anyway, with a lot of heartache, actually, because it was hard, and grit, I managed to put a magazine together online back in 1999, and had subscribers right away because the book was real popular. And so yeah, anyway, 27 years later, I no longer I contribute to the magazine, but we have an editor, Rhonda Dixon. She's been editing the magazine for uh maybe like 5 years now, 6 years. I don't know. It's been a while, but it just keeps getting better and better. It honestly does. I'm just amazed. Like I thought that we might run out of content, the first couple years. I thought, well, I don't know how long this will last. And here we are 27 years later. And again, we champion art and artists, and we have tutorials in there. And gosh, we have had people who have been subscribers since the first issue, still with it. Now that says something.
That is
That's,
incredible. And
I know.
I must say, I've been honored to write articles for you and step by steps and been in that magazine quite a bit. I love that magazine. It's such a treasure.
Oh, thank
And
you.
you can post it, can't you, Anne? It's a print
Yes,
copy that can be
you can get
posted
it.
around the
Yes,
world.
yes, you can get hard copies, or you can get digital. Either one. It's about half and half, actually. We've about half subscribers that get it digitally online, and about half who get it. They like to hold it in their hands.
Oh, I like to hold it in my hands. I have a little pile of them right here, actually, in my
Oh,
studio. I just love to hold it. I like the smell when you open it and the excitement of getting that package in the mail. I mean, I'm such an advocate for real world as well as online, but I also love to make sure that we maintain. And that's why I love the real color pencil, because you've got all that digital art. And my daughter's a digital artist and she loves it. But we stand for the real mediums. And it's just
right.
so beautiful. Oh, look, Anne, I don't even want to go. I'm so excited. I could talk to you all day, but we do need to wind up now. So I just want to end by saying thank you so much for your precious time today and your incredible cheery spirit. Thank you for everything you're doing for all of us women and men and children all around the world. And so I'd just like to end by saying thank you very much, Anne.
Well, thank you so much, Cindy. You're a wonderful interviewer, and I've had a great time.
Wow. Well, that's good. I'm glad you felt comfortable. So I'm just going to say goodbye to you all now. Thank you so much for watching my podcast. Look at the links below because I have some direct links for you to look at to head on over to Ann Kullberg's site. And if there's anything else you want to know, just ask questions in the comments below, and I'm sure Anne or I can answer you and get back to you. So bye for now and have a beautiful day.